Hey besties, welcome back to Astrotheme. I hope you're well today. So today we're going to be speaking about compatibility and why is it that every time you run your details of someone you're interested in into a website, you get various things coming through, right? One says you're amazing and you guys basically belong together, and another one says, well, this is going to hurt. Even though you've put in the same birthdays, it's the same two people, the same details, but somehow these things are never agreeing with each other. What I figured, and what's most true, you'll tell me if I'm wrong, but we often go with the one that suits us. And that's kind of bias. If you ask me, it's not always the best thing to do. And so I decided that I want to test this properly, right? And see what it is that makes these websites pretty different, or how they get to their conclusions, and how we can help ourselves choose the more accurate details. Here's what I did. I pretty much used one couple, right? Emma, born on July 14th in 1997 at 8:32 a.m. in Madrid, and David, born on November the 3rd, 1995 at 9:10 p.m. This is the exact data, right? We have their time of birth, we have their city of birth, and we also have the date of birth. So those are typically the three forms of information that any website that deals with astrology pretty much asks for. We have no guessing happening right here, right? We know exactly what we need. And I ran through 5 different compatibility websites just to see, right, what is going on right there. And I wrote down the percentages that each one of these websites pretty much gave out at the end, whether it's high compatibility or low compatibility, and what they had to say about them. I'm also not exaggerating, right, in saying that when I did these tests and ran them through these websites, sometimes the percentages were just different in the sense of high, low, and whatever. They were just like, the meaning as well was completely like distorted. Like one meaning from why they decided to rate them that percentage would differ significantly from another, right? So we're about to go through that whole process and figure out like why this is. This is pretty much what I found, right? So some sites also just asked for birthdays and didn't ask for the time of birth or city of birth, whereas other websites just wanted all the details, time, place, and date. So they all asked for very different things. Some didn't give, percentages at the end. I did ask ChatGPT to run me an estimation of a percentage given that the data that I have, right? So that we could kind of compare all these websites together. So that's what happened. Now, for the first website I went to, it was Suvitch. Suvitch rated David and Emma 73% compatibility. This particular website does not ask for time of birth, nor does it ask for place of birth. It just takes the birthdays and it goes straight into the congratulations, you're basically married at this point. That's the vibe I was getting, right? And it says that in this particular couple's sort of union, there is harmony, devotion, strong love, mutual appreciation, and that they'll live a happy life together. And then it ends with it's a perfect match, all the best, right? So at this point, it's just giving, a Facebook auntie blessing. And so, I don't know, mixed feelings, right? And, it's like the website is handing you sort of like a bouquet and a ring and being like, go forth and conquer the world. No really deep analysis on what's going on here. It's super positive, super confident, and it low-key just feels like it's allergic to red flags. So I'd use Suvitch if I generally just want like a distorted truth, just to make me feel good type of experience, right? The next thing I had to check out was Mixed Astrology, and that rated Emma and David 84%. So this one asked for the full tea. It asked for date, it asked for time, and it asked for place, so we like that. It also asked for names as well. So it came back with 84%, like I said. And their description was that it's a strong match, natural harmony between them. It also frames the score like it's almost looking at the energies and how they connect together, which is really nice. So it says that, they have emotional flow, there's life alignment, there's long-term potential. And, there are also challenges involved in this union. So it's trying to look a little deeper than the website we just saw before. And I like that it admits that there are challenges. I feel like we're humans, and of course there are going to be difficulties in any union. It's not the sort of pure fairy tale type of experience that's just like la-di-da, right? It's pretty realistic at least. But still, it's looking a little bit more promising than what it probably is, because 84% is still a high percentage, right? So next I looked at Astrotheme. Now Astrotheme gave this union a percentage score of 41%. It also asks for time and place, and yeah, 41%. I don't know, I think it's kind of rude. That's kind of a very low rating compared to where we just come from now. What it actually said, from a descriptive perspective, is that it's not tragic. There are ups and downs, and this love can still be high quality. There's inner resources, but, not to underestimate any differences. And the fact that as partners, they don't always resemble each other. It's giving that, this relationship will teach patience, and that they probably are already aware of the differences that they see in each other. The previous one also checked full data like Astrotheme, but it rated 84%, and this one rated 41%. Who stole the 37% in this case? Who knows? And we have Cafe Astrology. This one did not give a percentage, and it didn't ask for time of birth or place of birth. It gave a huge report in, after I put in all the details that it had asked for. It also described that this is kind of great or it's hard type of scoring, right? It's a very detailed analysis. It's kind of awful because it counted the synastry with random times of births. And I don't know how accurate that is. So you're using a time of birth, but you didn't ask for a time of birth. So where exactly are you getting this detail from? That's a little bit confusing for me. And the overall vibe here was you have real attraction and a real connection, but communication can get messy and you can misunderstand each other quite a lot, right? So I did then ask ChatGPT to give me sort of a percentage estimate based on the data that Cafe Astrology had provided. And it did give a very fair estimate. I would say it gave a percentage around 56%, which I think is pretty reasonable. It gave a description. Obviously, I will read it out for the purposes of this video. This reads like a strong pull, but you'll get confused if you don't communicate clearly. It's a type of connection where attraction is real, but misunderstandings and wait, what did you mean? Moments can pile up. If you turn that whole text into a number, I'd call it around 56%. Not bad. It's just effortless. Like chemistry is there, but clarity is the price of entry. My reaction is that it's too boring to read such a long text, but if you are really in love, maybe it is worth your time, right? To look at this and kind of see how you feel about it. But yeah, that was Cafe Astrology. Now, next up, we're going to be looking at Astro Seek, right? So this again did not provide any percentage. It just gives you the actual synastry breakdown, which is where the planets are for both of them and how they sort of overlap. And it looked more buildable than the previous report. And I love that because, all the charts are shown and explained, which is quite nice. And also this one included lunar phases. And that's kind of nice because I think depending on which lunar phase the relationship starts, or also when you as individuals in this partnership were born, you kind of carry different traits. And so putting them together can also show you a different layer for synastry purposes. The description ChatGPT gave was too long to read, but also, the actual descriptions under the AstroSeek sort of synastry explanations are also pretty long to read. So I'm not sure if anyone has that much time on their hands, but if you do, I guess it is worth the read yet again. So I asked ChatGPT obviously to translate all that information into a percentage, and it pretty much estimated something around 62%. The description, namely what ChatGPT had said, is that this one feels more like a real relationship than a crush. It shows enough emotional connections to make it buildable, but also enough trigger points that you'll need emotional maturity and direct communication. If I turn that into a percentage, which was what ChatGPT had said, I'd estimate around 62%. Basically not perfect, but definitely workable if you two act grow. So it definitely points out the need for maturity, right? So when I kind of, sat with all of this information and decided to compare, I was pretty annoyed. I'm not going to lie, because I just feel like at this point, I watched David and Emma go from a very high rating, high compatibility to, this is a perfect match and all the best. You guys are pretty much so in line and aligned for wedding bells at this point, to 41%, you're going to struggle to understand each other. You keep missing each other. And, in a span of 2 tasks, this almost took place, right? So it's like, what really is the real deal here? You know what? Excuse me? What's going on? But you know what? Wait, hear me out. I don't think it's a leeway into hating astrology. I just think that probably need to know how it works so that you know what to look out for. Definitely don't hate the websites, right? I think let your big sister take you through what exactly to look out for and how to actually use these websites to your benefit, or at least what to look out for when you're looking at compatibility. Let's start by talking about why these websites actually did give different compatibility percentages, right? So we can get to the how right after. So I think the two reasons it probably gave, these differing percentage scores is that some sites use birthday dates alone and don't particularly refer to the time of birth and place of birth, right? So using birthdays alone can also sort of miss out on important details that time of birth and place of birth offer from a synastry perspective. And often it's things like angles, rising signs that are considered in this, and also aspects, right? So very important details that one would look for when they sort of are looking at synastry and compatibility. So I think that's definitely the first reason. The second reason is that different sites obviously weigh different planets differently. So for instance, some calculators heavily care more about like a Venus and Mars, right? And others care more about a Moon and Saturn. Some sites can scream out soulmates and this is going to work because Venus and Mars are really strong. Where some sites will look at, Saturn and say, this is a very hard dynamic. Let me take you through what to actually look out for in a compatibility analysis. This is the fastest and most workable way to look at, the chart and what sort of aspects to look out for. First of all, I guess if you have more than just the person's zodiac sign, this is helpful. Right? You can look at the moon stuff. And typically when we're looking at the mood, we're looking at emotionality, how you guys connect to each other. Do you feel understood and emotionally safe around this person? Or are you sort of constantly missing each other emotionally? You don't speak the same emotional language. Secondly, there's Mercury stuff, which is about communication. Now, this answers questions around, do you get each other when you talk to each other? Is the way that your minds work compatible with each other? That is Mercury. Then third, we have Venus and Mars stuff, and that's usually around attraction, right? So this answers questions like, do you actually want each other? Is there an initial drive towards each other? Do you value the same things in life? That sort of stuff as well. Or alternatively, is it just an emotional attachment or codependency? Then last but not least, we want to look at Saturn stuff, which typically speaks towards longevity, right? Can you withstand troublesome times or trials and tribulations in the relationship? How much staying power and resilience does the relationship have in order to sort of ensure that there is longevity in this relationship? I know you're not supposed to check this manually. So just take a screenshot of your synastry chart and you can enter this into ChatGPT. And I would suggest that you use the following prompt. Put this in your ChatGPT alongside the synastry chart. Read this compatibility report and translate it into a score out of 100. Rate 4 areas: Moon, Mercury, Venus and Mars, and Saturn, and give 0 to 25% weighting for each, which is a total something out of 100. And then give me a 2-sentence summary. Right? So this is pretty much what you want to type into ChatGPT alongside your chart to see what it comes up with. If in your case, you only know something like, I'm a Leo and he's a Scorpio, that gives more sun sign energy type of compatibility. Whereas at this point, what you can tell is whether the first impression of each other and the overall first initial vibe between you two works. Right? So that's kind of what we're looking at if you just have the sun sign. But obviously compatibility is way more complex than that. We want to look at everything, right? And see how these planets engage with each other. Now, if you do know that their time of birth, you can basically get way more out of it. And yeah, the sun sign alone and just Mercury and Venus are not that useful. But in your case, if you just also know just the date of birth, at least it's better than just the sun sign, because you can see all the planets and where they sit, which is definitely still something. But best case scenario, you have all 3 aspects: time, place, and date. At this point, I feel like astrology is actually kind of complicated. The part that people don't really want to hear around this complication with astrology is that ChatGPT can mess it up. It's not accurate at all times. It can mess up the moon placements and confuse the aspects and mix up the houses and assume the wrong birth time. Like, there's so many defects as well, or sort of challenges with using ChatGPT. So if you're getting really sort of emotionally bullied by random compatibility percentages in this case, I genuinely recommend that you use Psychic Book. We have real astrologers with real experience who are here to help you and give you the best of compatibility data analysis. And so I would suggest that you tap in. There's nothing that ever beats speaking to a real person who has real experience in this game, right? So give it a chance. The first session is free. So run, and please don't forget to subscribe. I've loved talking to you guys about this, and I'd be so happy to hear everything that you have to say. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you're having a great day and you're taking care of yourself. Mwah. Until next time, sweeties, love you guys so much.